Lyric, we'll start with you. Your overall thoughts for AEW Revolution and the decision to headline with Moxley and Coke.
Wow, this is a loaded question. I'm gonna be honest. Outside of the tag match and obviously the main event, this pay per view was perfect. I loved everything, and I loved, and also too, I think I loved how just it made me feel. Like I like, this was up there with me with New Beginning in Osaka as far as like that feeling of just like. This is why I fell in love with wrestling from the Hangman MJF opener. I felt like that was, there's a AEW puts on great matches all the time, but I feel like it's a handful of matches that you can point to and be like, this is a defining match of what the company is. And that was it. When AEW started, Hangman was clearly on path to be the top baby face of the promotion, and MJF was always meant to be the top heel, And so 6 years later, that match is really a defining moment as the company's ability to create stars and how far each man has come. There's only 3 men that AEW has ever really built into a world champion, and that's Hangman, MJF, and Swerve. And so I loved that. I love the subtle storytelling. I've been really hard on MJF, I would say, these last 2.5 years. I have hated most of what he's done, I'm going to be honest. But he's actually trying again. And you can tell. And when he's trying, when he actually puts in effort, you can see why people call him a generational talent. This is the best work he's done, I would say, in my opinion, since the Punk feud. As far as him really just being his best self. So I love that. And obviously Hangman Adam Page, seeing him climb up to the top, he's one of my favorite wrestlers ever. So and just little subtle things of him like finding himself again. Mercedes and Momo, fantastic. I love their first match that they had at New Japan Capital Collision, but this match was amazing. As somebody who's followed Momo Watanabe, I love seeing her get these opportunities internationally, just because I believe she's one of the best on Stardom's roster. And so hopefully, she wins that red belt by the end of the year. She beat Mercedes ass. Like, my sister,
it wasn't one-sided. It was one-sided. I promise you it was.
My sister was getting cooked.
Yeah.
Did you see that big ass bruise on her face on Dynamite?
Yes, her chin is black. Like it's,
that's why she kept going like this. Like she kept trying to kind of hide it a little bit, but
absolutely,
she kept going like, oh, Renee.
But I think especially we just saw this week made officially 1 year since Big Business, and I think that so much credit needs to be given to Mercedes, because name another WrestleMania main eventer who would willingly put themselves in position to go against stiffer competition where they could possibly be upstaged. Nobody's putting themselves in positions like that. Think about the people that she's faced, the absolute best of the best. Mayu Iwatani, Momo Watanabe, for Hazuki. Like, she has faced the absolute best, like the best of the best. She has not shied away from competition, and she has pushed herself to be able to wrestle on that level. And that's why she can call herself comfortably, the GOAT, because she's challenged herself to do those things. So I would say props to her. That was amazing. Swerve Ricochet, fantastic. The storytelling, bro, with the Nana robe, tears in my eyes. They had like, when I say like that, it's so beautiful, like, to watch their relationship evolve. Ricochet is doing the best work of his career. He is the top heel in the promotion, to be quite honest. Like, Ricochet,
SB been saying it. Yep.
Ricochet is the top heel in the promotion, and I think that Swerve and Ricochet, and even the match that follows when we go into not the match that followed, because that was Okada and Brody. But when you look at the Hurt Syndicate, there's some conversations that need to be had. But we can get to the part of that later, but there's some conversations that need to be had. But I really enjoyed the presentation of that match. And then what was that next? Okada Brody. I think somebody said that this would have been a great Dynamite main event, like, obviously, but we needed a cool down match. After the first 3, we needed a cool down match, but this was Okada got cooked. Like, his chest was looking like ground beef. Um, Brody King has had a great year.
I love Brody. Oh my God, they don't give Brody. Brody needs a belt. Stop playing with Brody, please.
And he started off this year in the Tokyo Dome. I think that's the thing. And he outside of the Omega Gabe Kidd match, I would say like he had a fantastic match with David Finlay. You know, at the Tokyo Dome, he outperformed a couple people who was on that card. To be quite honest,
Brody can body slam me any time of the week. You know.
Well, yeah. He even shouted out Lady Gaga's album. I said, "Oh my king, do you listen to Mayhem too?" That was good. Hurt Syndicate versus Outrunners.
Yep.
Say it, girl. Say it. You want to?
I try to be really quiet when it comes to certain stuff because, like, I know that a lot of y'all like them, but they should have never been pushed as a serious contender.
And not right now. They missed the boat. They were over 3 months ago.
And I think also too, I would have much rather, if you want to put a set of titles on them, put them ROH tag titles on them. Dustin Rhodes got 2 sets of belts. I just
for no reason.
Exactly. So that's how I feel.
And the other one, his other partner, we shall remain nameless. So whatever.
But I think that for me personally, as somebody who grew up loving Shelton Benjamin, to see him on a pay-per-view card, that was enough for me. Like, that was enough for me. Seeing the reaction that they got from the crowd, like, you know, even though it was a dud of a match, like, Hurt Syndicate are so over to the point where, you know what, it doesn't matter. They hurt people, you know. But that match was way too long. They should have never got that much offense in on Hurt Syndicate. But whatever. I think it is time for the Hurt Syndicate to add a new member. Not MJF, but somebody. You know, somebody.
You don't want Owen Hart in the nation?
We have criteria.
Say it, girl. If it ain't.
There's a certain criteria. I said this the other day. I said this is the only time where paper bag testing is appropriate. Only time.
Oh,
shit.
I mean, she's not wrong though. I mean, like, because when he did that, I was like, why would you want to pick him of all people?
I brought up the you know, remember the Last Dance when Isaiah Thomas said, I met the criteria, but I wasn't selected. I didn't meet the criteria. And so we need to keep the Hurt Syndicate. Anyway, what was
to come, and we'll be all right.
Exactly. After that, that was Tony Mariah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the best North American women's match on U.S. soil. I would say, and
facts.
That's all. That's as simple as it is. They were robbed, and I'm sure we'll go more deeper into it. So I don't want to go too deep into it right now. But I think for me personally, I'll be honest, I wasn't looking for a third match. Like I liked their first match and I liked their second match, but I didn't love it. And I felt like for a story that it held up the world title for 18 months, I needed it to mean something. Like, you know, like this was the magnum opus of the division, but they made it mean something. And I think like we don't even know the full impact. We won't know the full impact of this until much later. But they changed a lot of things. They changed a lot of perceptions. And hell, Dave gave a 5. Whoa, brother.
Dave Meltzer gave a 5-star match to a women's match in the United States. First one ever.
Dave is giving out what? This is like the 3rd women's 5 that he gave. I don't know who broke his brain, but man, shout out to you. This was just iconic in every way. Toni Storm, I mean, she will go down as one of the defining wrestlers of our generation.
Yep.
Like regardless of gender. And I think what she was able to do, I was in the room the night that she debuted in AEW, and like what she has done and who she has turned herself into. And I think you can see the confidence, like she just transcendent. And she is the leader of this division now. And that division is stacked. And so to be able to comfortably say that is truly like, that means that you are heavyweight. And Mariah May, she's going to have a very interesting contract season. After that, we had my glorious goat, my goat of goats. They emptied out the pyro budget for my glorious goat, Kenny Omega, Konosuke Takeshita. Wow. I personally like this better than their first match. And the reason why I did was because it was a different match. I loved seeing Kenny come from underneath. Like, I loved see him, like, you know, be a step behind athletically. So he has to, you know, get scrappy. I think Takeshita looked like a monster. Like, just looked like an absolute monster. And like the way he attacked his midsection and the clever usage of the table. And I think just seeing, like, you know, it's just like the depletion. Like, I love seeing like Kenny in those different scenarios than we're used to seeing him in. Ospreay versus Fletcher, they're freaking nuts. That was scary, crazy. But as somebody who's been following them since New Japan, Aussie Open, I'm wearing my Aussie Open t-shirt today, actually, and United Empire, to see how far that they've come, that was just really emotional for me. And I love the match. I think that they've had one of the best trilogies that AEW's ever done. And that's saying a lot, because there's been a lot of great, strong trilogies, I think, that AEW has done. They have one of the best trilogies. Kyle Fletcher is world champion ready at this point. Like, I don't, you know, like he's ready, like, for a big title. Then there's a minute.
You ain't really got to say nothing. Your face ain't at all.
I think what really hurts me is that Mox and Cope are they're my all-time top 5. Like, Edge was my favorite wrestler growing up. Mox is one of my favorite all-time wrestlers. So, like, to not be excited, it really hurt me. But I'm gonna be honest, this was the male ego at work, and they should be ashamed, to be quite honest, like, of just, especially when you see how it hurt the company, like, of just this, we would be talking about a candidate for the greatest pay-per-view of all time. Like, and I think it still is, but it has a big asterisk by it. And I think is that AEW, you already know that you have a PR war against you. You know that everybody's going to judge you more harshly. And so, like, to willingly give up points on the scoreboard that's just not, like, you know, and like, I think a lot of it is, you know, it's on Tony too. But I think also too, like, to say that you love the company and to say that you, like, you're carrying the company, and to have seen the night that they had and to fail so miserably, it's a lot of introspective that need to be had. That was abysmal. It shouldn't have main evented, and some people are like, it wasn't that bad of a match. It wasn't that bad of a match. On a card where everybody is extraordinary, we should not give out points to former world champions, like world champion caliber wrestlers, veterans, for mediocrity. I think that the time for participation trophies is over. Like, and if you put so much pressure on women and said
speak, girl, speak. Oh my God.
So much pressure on women and said that, oh, well, we can't do this until we get this roster right, or we got to start having longer matches. We got to have real feuds. The women have done every single thing that you asked them to do, that you told them that they would need to do to get to that level. They have done everything. You beefed up the roster. You have a war chest of main event level players. You have the most transcendent women's storyline of our generation. And that's the fact. You did all of that. Tony, number 1 on PWI Women's 250. Mariah, most improved. Tony, Woman of the Year. You did all these different things. Everything was in place. You had the first 2 matches in foreign countries. You know, like, everything that you asked women to do, they did. And they still got slighted for mediocrity, for absolute mediocrity and an ego stick measuring contest. And I just don't think that that's conducive for AEW performing on the level that they need to
perform on.
Because I think, let's just be real, WWE's hotter than they ever been. You are a 6-year-old company. You have no choice but to be perfect. Like, you can't just, you have to.
You have to.
Like, you have to be extraordinary, and you are extraordinary. And the rest of your roster, if everybody else is stepping up, why would your world title, especially because I think that AEW built up their world title so high, put it on such a high pedestal. And so to see it fall so low and then try to gaslight people and be like, oh, you just shut up. You sound stupid. You sound stupid. We know what quality looks like. We done cried, fell out, seen world title matches. They done changed people's lives. We just had Swerve versus Danielson a couple months ago, and this is not comparable. This is not comparable. None of it. This isn't comparable for a TNT title feud, let alone a world title feud. We've seen TNT title feuds better than this. We've seen 24/7 title feuds better than this. Y'all sound stupid.
I saw somebody, I won't bury them and throw them under the bus, that was like, oh, I feel really bad because you guys are picking on Cope and Mox. They tried really hard. I like the main event. And I'm just like, this is all excuses. This is all excuses. These are 50 and 40-year-old men who have been in this business for 20 and 40 years, and we're giving them cop-outs, like you said. Like, the excuses is mind-boggling, and we can't accept it. We won't accept it. Like, when you have
participation awards suck.
This type of show was the pitcher having the perfect game, and then he gives up a walk with 2 outs in the ninth inning.
Yes, that's perfect. Yes.
How you blow a 4-1 lead?
Yes, that's it.
Yes. 4-1 lead.
You let them win one game. Come on, guys.
Mox and Cope are not up and comers. We are talking about the first man to ever win the WWE, IWGP, and AEW World Championships and a WrestleMania main eventer. Like, we are talking about people who have reached the apex of this sport. We're not talking about, oh, they're just trying. Like, y'all talking about them like y'all talking about Harley Cameron. And Harley Cameron is a little bit harder than this.
Yep.
Harley Cameron took the ball and ran.
Yep.
It's one of those things to where it's excuses, and I think it's actively hurting the company. Then the only saving grace is that, Big Swervo, I'm supposed to be moving back to the top of the mountain. I hope so, but who knows at this point of just who knows?
I walked out of that pay-per-view. I left that pay-per-view feeling like, I don't know if women are ever going to headline an AEW pay-per-view, and I had no type of feeling that Swerve is going to be the one that ends at this point, I literally said it on the Revolution review. I was like, I think Jon Moxley has Tony Khan's family hostage somewhere.
He has the Chris Jericho effect. I feel like he has like the Chris Jericho, like, I can do whatever the fuck I want to, and I'm gonna do it. You're not gonna tell me no.
And I'm not saying that Mox is invaluable. I think Mox is so integral to the fabric of AEW. But if he is unable to be valuable to the company without a title, there are conversations that need to be had. And I think that goes for a lot of guys. If Chris Jericho is adding more value to the current product than you in 2025,
yep,
there are conversations that need to be had.
And that's a lot. That's a lot saying that.
Yes, it is a lot, but it's not false.
They've gotten
right,
the Jericho formula right. Like, they have gotten the Jericho formula down. It's actively even elevating people, like, think about how much we've seen Big Bill and Brian Keith lately.
Yes.
They have gotten the Jericho formula down. Like, at this point, just about everything is good except for the world title picture.
And that's why I said it was an all-timer tone deaf decision, because so many people were on social media, and we know Tony Khan is on social media almost too much for someone in his stature, someone of his status. He's too much online for him to say that, oh, I didn't know that the people weren't into this. I didn't know that this was a bad decision. You knew this was a bad decision. Absolutely. And you probably had people backstage. I know for a fact someone that works backstage at AEW who's not feeling this Moxley stuff.
I know several. Yeah.
So it's not just us as fans watching. It is people backstage telling you, and you you went and you did this whole big freaking parade before the pay-per-view, like, oh guys, yeah, everything's good on television because I'm in the weeds. I'm making the decisions. It's all me. It's all me. So that is why the LVP of AEW Revolution was Tony Khan, because he had one decision to make, and he literally had so many other options. Like, we're emphasizing that, yeah, Tony and Mariah was the A choice, but the B choice, steel cage matchup, there was nothing that was going to follow that to a lot of people. You could have ended it that way. You could have ended it with Kenny Omega winning his first singles title in how many years? That would have been prevalent.
You could have ended it with Swerve Ricochet.
I was like, Swerve Ricochet, that could have ended it. Like, there were so many other options on this card, and he decided to pick the one decision that everybody was saying, this is the wrong decision, don't make this the main event, and he did it anyway. That is tone deaf. For a guy that has always been credited, his biggest thing as being a booker is that he has the finger on the pulse of what the fans want. He had his finger up his asshole on Sunday night.
He knew. He didn't even talk about it, bro. This how I know, like, Tony is so easy to see. He didn't even tweet about it. You know, typically he say, chance of this is awesome coming from the arena right now for AEW Revolution. He said that for all the other matches. When that Mox Cole thing happened, look around, everybody on mute.
He literally said it in the freaking presser. The presser. He says the quote was, "Oh, if hindsight's always 20/20, but I thought that the fans would love and go nuts for Swerve ending the show on top. You were wrong. You thought wrong. That's what it came down to.
The fans
is 20/20, but everybody saw this was the wrong decision, and you did it anyway.
Absolutely. Like, I think that, like, bro, like Tony, you come from the message boards. That's how I know you knew what the chatter was. And so, like, at the end of the day, it all came down to politics. But also at the end of the day, this is how I see it. Yes, people bought Revolution in spite of the world title picture, not because of it. But at the end of the day, you have 10,000 tickets sold for All In at this point. And you need at least, what I would say, 25 to 30,000 for it to be considered a success. We are now, 4 months out? Yeah. If you genuinely think that this is what's going to put butts in seats, you're crazy. And I know so many people who are like, I haven't bought my All-In ticket yet, or I haven't booked my flight yet, because honestly, if Mox is world champion, I'm not trying to see that close the show. And for people who are wrestling fans, you can probably say you're talking to people and you're hearing people like that. I know so many people who are saying that right now, just like nah, because you set the bar so high last year. You set the bar so high with Swerve Danielson. The people want to go home happy. We ain't even seen Darby in a couple months. And so if that's the plan, like, at this point, you have to be in that mindset of, do you want butts and seats? Do you actually want people to come to your show? And I think if you think that loading up the card with the Omegas, Okadas, and the Mercedes Athenas, and maybe and all these different matches to offset it, do you know how unfair that is to your other top talent who are putting in the work, who put in butts and seats, and then said, we're just going to give the main event to something that nobody asked for? Like, that's how you lose your talent during contract season. That's how you lose overall. And so I think right now, and I think we started to see those building blocks towards All In, in little bits and pieces in Revolution, then on the Dynamite afterwards. And so if you genuinely think that that's going to put butts in seats when you need at least 20,000 more people to buy tickets, good luck, Charlie.
Josh, what was your kind of overall thoughts on AEW Revolution and the decision to put Mox and Cope in the main event?
I mean, overall, I thought it was a great pay-per-view. Them going the main event, I mean, I was saying it for the last, 2-3 weeks. I was like, Tony and Mariah has the main event, and I was very open about it, and then you had those people who are just, already being, telling me like, oh, but we already know that Copeland and Mox is going to main event, right? Which wasn't my point. I was just like, Mariah and Tony needs to main event because we had it was an 18-month storyline, right? Going on 18-month storyline. They had their match at Grand Slam. that was just more, that was just more of the route to go, in my opinion, because even so, right, there were multiple options, right? Osprey, Fletcher, Omega, Konosuke. So there was multiple options, but I still would have preferred the women to main event, just because, again, that was more of a compelling storyline going in my opinion. And also, I mean, you need, for the title, the way that it was for a while, because Mariah was champion, it was kind of in a limbo, waiting for Tony to come back. Tony becomes champion, so you needed to make that title mean something too.
Yep.
At least for a main event. But besides that, I mean, I enjoyed it. There's a lot of great matches on the show. As far as people trying to defend the main event, I mean, I don't know what you're really defending. I don't know. I just don't know what you're really defending. And I think it's more of the fan thing of, well, Copeland is my guy. I was an Edge fan. I was a Mox, I was a Dean Ambrose fan. I think it's more of that than just acknowledging the match wasn't great. The match was slow. Like, the match was slow. Very slow. And then the Christian Cage thing didn't make it better. Yeah, and then the Christian Cage thing didn't make it better. Especially him losing the way that the fashion that he lost, I think just kind of made it even worse, in my opinion. But the fact that people are saying like that they tried, and I'm like, yo, these guys are fucking veterans. We shouldn't be saying that they tried.
Yep.
Like, they're not 3-year rookies who are in. This is not Nick Wayne wrestling in the main event. That same thing. He tried, guys. No. Like, these guys should have just known better. And that's all I'm saying. Like, especially with Copeland, like, what's kind of crazy with Copeland, like, he's in this stage where it's like, I like him and I respect all he's done, but it's like, I don't even know if he's not really helping in the perception of the company. And it sucks. It sucks to say that, because I'm just like, I thought he would be a guy that could help. I think he's doing the opposite of that at this point. Because, when he was a TNT champion, I thought he was helping that more, but then he broke his fucking leg because he wanted to jump off like an idiot. And then
listen.
I mean, it was a stupid move. If you got up there, if you get on top of the cage and you admit yourself you didn't know what to do, you're stupid for that. I'm sorry. Like, you're stupid for that.
And doing it for a Malachi Black match. And
the guy's not even in the company anymore. And then the fact that you jump off, landed on your feet, knowing that, I'm like, that's not how you break your fall. You landed on your damn feet. That's how you broke your leg.
3 3/4. Wow.
Like, and it's one of those things where, I think the way that I felt, I wasn't as harsh as other people were. Like, SP3 went on his rant in the review. I wasn't as harsh because it was one of those things when I sat down, it was more like the way I took it. It was just like, the Shannon Sharp meme when he's like this, like that's how I felt. That's how I felt.
No, I was harsh because it's like,
yeah, I know why you were harsh, and it was
because we came up with 100 ways to do the match. If you're gonna make that tone deaf choice, there was 100 different ways to do it. Have Josh Alexander debut as the newest member of the Death Riders. No, it's not the best option, but it's someone new. It's a new development in the Death Rider story. That would have been fine. Jay White turning heel on Cope. That would have been something interesting to get Jay White on a better path than what he is right now. I like him as a babyface, but him being Cope's sidekick is not doing shit for him. But literally, they booked it in a way that made everybody involved look bad. Cope and Mox put on a slow, plotting freaking main event matchup. They look bad. Christian Cage looks like an idiot for cashing in when he did and losing. He looks bad. Jay White fucks up and hits Cope in the head, and then he's like, oh, God, I gotta go brawl with Wheeler Yuta to the back. Wheeler Yuta, they did the whole thing on Wednesday with him. Oh, this is what respect feels like. Oh, he might be away from the Death Riders, only for him to make the most obvious decision that fooled nobody, to surprise nobody. He looks stupid out of this. Everybody involved. The referee not ringing the bell when Christian hits Cope in the head with the contract. He looks like an idiot. Literally, everybody in this shit. Even Jim Ross had to be like, hey guys, you should remember this is for the world title. Because the crowd sure didn't remember. They were not, they sang Edge's song and then they were completely.
They would sleep the rest of the day. Was tired because the other matches took everything out of them.
No,
it was too long.
They checked out.
I actually want to push back on that because one thing I've learned about like a good AEW pay-per-view, like a great AEW pay-per-view, is that it doesn't matter what came before. If a match is good, people gonna get up. Like people are going to get up. It just wasn't good. And you know what's a great example? Dynasty. Dynasty was a great example. It was an amazing card. And when we got to the main event for Swerve versus Joe, the people were still up for Swerve because they wanted to see him crowned so bad. Like they still were going hard for Swerve. Even Revolution, that last 3 matches of Revolution, Ospreay, Takeshita, the world title 3-way, Hangman, Swerve, Samoa Joe, and then Sting and the Young Bucks. Amazing card from top to bottom, and the people were still up. The shit was trash, and we should say
it. And Forbidden Door, Swerve and Ospreay. That was it for that too.
On the card, Omega and Takeshita followed that amazing Hollywood ending, and you know what they did? They started slow, they escalated, and they built to have a fantastic match themselves. There's literally an example.
Cope just went slow. They just went slow.
They just went slow the whole time. It was just really bad.
Willow and Stat followed Ospreay and Pac at All Out and ended up outdoing them in a lot of ways. Like it's just constantly. We done with excuses, and I think of just if everybody, because everybody else is so good. And I think after Revolution, we emerged with at least 3. I think, especially if you count the Dynamite afterwards, there are at least 3 men who are ready for the world title right now. Like you could trap them up tomorrow, and they are ready. You have at least 3 top baby faces. You know, of just what are we waiting for? Like what are we waiting for? Who is this supposedly helping? Who is this supposedly elevating? It's one thing if you don't have stars ready. I think New Japan was in that position, I think last year. Who do you have to put the title on? AEW has the opposite problem, like the complete opposite problem. They have so many options. There's no reason for Jon Moxley to be world champion right now. And, to have held that belt 4 times. Toni Storm is a 4-time champion, but is she adding value? Yes. If you are adding value, I can see it. I can understand that. I still don't think she should hold the title long because she's held it. She's had it 4 times, but she's adding value. She's adding value to that title. There is no real value being added, and this is coming from a Mox fan, like a real Mox fan. There's no value being added.
I think SP said it like a few weeks ago. We would have never thought that we would be talking this bad about Jon Moxley.
Never.
They're actively ruining his legacy with this.
He had the hot girl summer. He left the company. He made these changes. He was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do things like I used to do when I was over there when I was in Shackles, bruh." It looked like you bringing Shackles back on yourself now. Like it's so bad. Like you could have never. This is not on the bingo card that we thought this would have never been on it, especially for these 2 guys. Terrible. They need to really sit down and reflect and yo, we really fucked up something that was really, really good. We could have went 3rd. We could have opened the show. We could have done so many things, but we didn't want to do that because our egos are so fucking big. And I think even more, Cope pushed for this. I think it's more Cope than Mox. I really feel like that's how it is. My opinion. I really feel like it was more Cope that wanted to say, we should main event. No, our show, bro, you ain't been good since you came back with that broken leg. I'm sorry.
It's time for Cope to grab that tag rope.
Yes.
It's time for him because I think
and even the name change. The name change ain't helping either.
I understand why he did the name change. I think it's because his TV career right now is very much Adam Copeland, so trying to keep the separation. Hey, he nominated for a daytime Emmy. I get it. But at the same time, I think the only card he has left to play that I think fans actively want to see is him and Christian reuniting as a team. And if they're not careful, you're going to miss the window on that too, to where people don't care about either.
I think they already missed it, to be honest. I think it's surpassed.
I don't think so quite yet. Like, I think that especially if you pull him out of the like this world title picture now, and like you give it a real build, because I think even like Christian changed course on Dynamite, and it's really interesting stuff happening with Nick Wayne. I think we're still at now where some of the stuff is salvageable, but it doesn't need the world title. Like, there's just like all of these people are salvageable. They just don't need to be in the world title picture. Like, they just don't. They just don't.
I've been saying that. Yeah.
Because they could build good stories without a title. They
Absolutely.
can have meaningful matches without any titles. And that will solidify, like, yo, they didn't even have a title, and they still are cooking. They're still giving great matches and still giving us good things to talk about. You guys are already legends at it already. You don't.
No.
Yes, you want to do it in this company? Sure. Yes, whatever. But I don't think you even really need to. I think you need to help elevate this company and bring it to new heights.
Absolutely.
That's what your job should be.
And I think that even too, when you think about Mox, if we want to be honest, not just one title is being held hostage, two are, because now the trios championships are being held hostage, and there are actually good trios now. Like, there are actually good trios. If it was me, I'd built up the Ops tomorrow, or Undisputed Kingdom. Like, there are actual good trios now, and everybody, I think that's what's the most frustrating part. Everybody else is doing such great work, just about everything else is perfect. But at the end of the day, AEW built up their world title as a centerpiece so high that if that is weak, everything else feels weak too in comparison, even though there are several people on the roster doing some of the best work of their career, some of the best work in the industry, period, on both the male and female side. But all of that is being overshadowed because of ego.
And I said it on the review. I was like, this Death Rider storyline is an albatross on what is a fantastic product right now.
Absolutely.
It's weighing it down slowly. It's like an anchor. It's bringing it down from where it should be. And like you said earlier, I think they need to strive for excellence. When you're number 2, you cannot be anything less than excellent, or you're going to fall even further.